So you sent this report over about some big changes happening over at Eternal, the company, formerly known as Zomato.
Right.
And this report from FinTrack, it flags the resignation of Rinshul Chandra,
Yes.
who was the COO of their food delivery business.
Yeah.
Now, when you saw this, what was it about this news that made you think, okay, this is worth a deep dive?
Well, I think the thing that really jumps out is just the significance of the role.
Right.
As COO of their core food delivery business, this is a central position at Eternal.
Right.
So for him to leave, especially, the announcement was made April 5th,
Right.
and his last day was just 2 days later on April 7th. So that kind of rapid transition in leadership, it really makes you wonder what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, the official reason given was new opportunities and passions.
Right. Right.
It's the classic line, right?
Pretty standard.
But when we look at Chandra's history at the company, he started as an assistant VP of product back in 2018. And then he rose through the ranks to become COO. So that's just someone who was considered pretty vital to their operations, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Does that make his exit even more noteworthy in your eyes?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
It indicates that he wasn't just some small part of the company. He was really seen as a key driver of growth.
Okay.
And that's why the fact that Eternal hasn't announced his successor yet is particularly interesting.
Yeah.
Are they perhaps looking internally and haven't made a decision, or could this signal a bigger change in how they're thinking about leadership within the food delivery segment as a part of their broader strategy?
That's a really good point. And, this isn't happening in isolation, is it?
Right.
This report also mentions the recent layoffs at Eternal. It was around 600 customer support associates who were reportedly let go. And this was, within a year of being hired. So how do you see these layoffs connecting with the COO suddenly leaving?
Well, to me, it could point towards a larger restructuring of their operations.
Okay.
Often layoffs, especially in customer-facing roles, can signal that a company is trying to become more efficient, or maybe they're shifting their priorities.
Right.
So Chandra's departure, it could be seen in light of these changes to how they're operating.
Yeah.
So it raises an important question about what they're going to do moving forward with their food delivery business.
And it's not just these two things either. There have been a bunch of other high-level departures recently from the company.
For sure.
We saw Himaldi Sainin leave. He was their global head of finance and CFO of Hyperpure.
Yes.
Akriti Chopra, a co-founder and the chief people officer, also left.
Wow.
And Gunjan Soni, an independent director, she resigned in October of last year. So that's a lot of senior people heading out the door.
Yeah, it really is. It's a pretty significant amount of turnover at the top. Well, you can never know for sure the individual reasons behind each departure. This many high-level exits in a short period. It can sometimes mean that there's a larger shift happening.
Right.
Or maybe they're rethinking their priorities as a company.
Okay.
And if we consider this alongside the recent rebranding, they went from Zomato to Eternal,
right,
which now includes Zomato, Blinkit, District, and Hyperpure under one umbrella. It suggests that the company's actively changing things up.
Right.
It seems like they're really reshaping themselves.
Okay, so Eternal is moving towards this more integrated structure.
Yeah.
And Chandra's role, it was so focused on the original Zomato, the food delivery side of things.
Right.
Do you think that maybe his position is undergoing a fundamental change as part of this broader Eternal vision?
That's a really crucial point to consider.
Okay.
The rebranding, it does suggest a more unified approach across the different business lines. So the fact that the food delivery COO has left, and they haven't named a replacement yet, that could mean that they're taking a fresh look at how food delivery fits within the larger Eternal ecosystem.
Okay.
And it could also mean that they're rethinking how that whole segment is going to be led moving forward.
Okay, so to sum up, we've got this very recent, very rapid resignation of a key leader in Eternal's core food delivery business.
Right.
And this follows right on the heels of some pretty significant layoffs and a whole string of other high-profile departures.
Yeah.
And all of this is happening as the company has just rebranded itself to reflect a more integrated structure.
Exactly. It paints a picture of a company that's in a major transition.
Right.
It seems like they're potentially redefining their strategic focus and how they're organizing everything.
So for those of you following along at home, the big question seems to be, with all these changes happening at Eternal, what's the big picture strategy they're moving towards?
Right.
And what new challenges and opportunities might this create, not only for Eternal itself,
Right.
but also for the wider food delivery industry as a whole?
Yeah, this is definitely a story worth keeping an eye on.
Definitely a lot more to come on that, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.